From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, March 21st, 2022. I've got a mild and dry forecast for you here across the Canadian Prairie with, I'll do my best to make another case for optimism, though, as we head into week 2. Looking at temperatures here as we get started on Monday morning, mild air making its way into the prairie here. We've got another clipper tracking through the region. We can see that on the satellite picture. Well, you really actually can't see much on that. Let's try and play it one more time, see if we can make anything out of that. We'll let it pause here at the end. All right, I'll tell you what. Freeze it right there. Here's your little clipper making its way through the center of circulation on that. Just north of the Saskatoon area. We'll call it central Saskatchewan. We got some precipitation along a cold front with that, a mix of rain and snow south of Highway 16, maybe some snow north of that. We'll flip it over and look at the radar picture. Here's the precipitation associated with that. You can see the kind of comma or apostrophe shape with that disturbance making its way through. And then we continue to see strong onshore flow, heavy precipitation on the west side of the Rockies here across British Columbia, portions of the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And as we look at the last 7 days of precipitation, that's the theme. Over the last 7 days, over the last month plus, heavy precipitation with strong onshore flow here west of the Rockies along the coast of British Columbia. And then we continue to see systems kind of make their way over the top of a ridge here that's been in place off and on over the last month or two, with some of those systems delivering some light precipitation to the Highway 16 corridor, generally then being rain shadowed on the south side of that with dry conditions, not just over the prairie, but again, you can look at this entire corridor right here, including, southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, down into the northern plains of the United States, portions of Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, all the way down into Iowa, with substantial drought here coming out of the winter into the early spring. So a huge corridor right here looking for a change in the pattern, or at least one or two systems to make their way through with a more favorable trajectory. Now, the downside here, that's not happening over the next 3 to 5 days. We've got system number 1 making its way through here. We'll take this through the next 3.5 days with the NAM model. So here's your Monday forecast, Monday night, and then as we get into Tuesday, this system's out of here. We'll have a quiet and dry Tuesday across the region. Mild temperatures in most areas here, quiet and mild as we head into Wednesday. Big area of ridging on the backside of the early week disturbance here. So dry and warm is your forecast for most areas as we head through the rest of the week. Total precipitation by type through Thursday afternoon. Again, you can see some of the lighter snow across portions of central Saskatchewan, central and southern Manitoba, with dry conditions across southern Alberta into western and southern Saskatchewan. So here's your rainfall forecast and then your snowfall forecast. Not looking for much in the way of wintry mix or ice accumulation, I should say. Now, your next 10 days from the European model, just verbatim, so it's going to be a little slightly different in reality from what you see here as the model just spits out. But the theme is clear over the next 10 days. Nothing in the way of obvious systems making their way through with a favorable trajectory for the region that I just kind of highlighted there, from central and southern Alberta and Saskatchewan down into the northern plains of the United States. This is mostly your disturbance here over the next 24 to 36 hours, though we do see another one here late week making its way once again over the top of the ridge here. Here's the next, so this is the next 5 days. So through Saturday, March 26th, the probability of picking up 1/10 of an inch of precipitation. Here's your Monday into Monday night storm system. And then behind that, as we look out through the rest of the week, we're talking about, a less than 30 or 40% chance of picking up that 1/10 of an inch. So we're talking about maybe some spotty showers, nothing in the way of real substantial precipitation through the week. And we'll look at the zoomed out look at the pattern here using 1 inch as the threshold. So your probability of picking up 1 inch or more of precipitation by Saturday, March 26th. And here are your active corridors. Strong onshore flow across the Pacific right here. And then we see at times ridging, systems coming down, and then jet stream flow kicking back off this direction. So again, your troughs kind of, picking out the obvious active areas. And unfortunately, it's this corridor right here that continues to be missed from central and southern Alberta into southern Saskatchewan on down into the northern plains of the U.S. And here's the pattern, the reason for it. You get strong flow right here where we continue to see troughs swinging in. And then, the majority of these systems, they sneak down here and then continue off to this direction. So we're seeing the repeated development of troughing and storm systems in two areas. And again, in between that, we get generally a sinking motion in the atmosphere. We get convergence in the upper levels, and it's a dry pattern across the region. Now, my play for optimism here, continued optimism. I know this has been the theme. Every week it seems like we're saying there's not much this week, but it's not, it's not completely shut down over the next, few weeks as we go through the end of March into early April. And here's my reasoning. We'll look at the hemispheric view here. So here's North America, and then specifically here is Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And then here's your North Pole right in the center of that. And you see the flow coming around here. This pattern is not blocked. We continue to see waves making their way through the North Pacific, through the Aleutian Islands, into the Gulf of Alaska. And then as we get to the very end of the loop here, even, at the end of the 10-day forecast, the end of March, early April, we see another wave making its way into Western Canada here, potentially with a more favorable trajectory. So my point is, we've talked about what the ideal phase or the ideal pattern looks like for substantial precipitation across the Canadian Prairie. I'm going to use this map, this view, as an example here. And maybe I can do something better here. Let's get to a cleaner view. We've talked about the need to get troughing in this area, across the Pacific Northwest, across British Columbia is where we want the axis of that trough, so that ahead of it, we're getting the development of low pressure, and we're getting a more favorable flow around those storm systems as they make their way, ideally, south of the Prairie, dumping their heavy precipitation on the north side across Alberta, across Saskatchewan, into Manitoba. Now, it doesn't look like we're going to get that, persistent, sustained troughing across there, which would be, what would be associated with our wettest late winters and wettest early springs. So, it doesn't appear that we're going to, swing from drought into extreme precipitation, which I would argue is maybe not the best scenario. What I think we're going to be looking for as we head through, again, the end of March into April is, can we get a couple of these systems here to swing through with an ideal trajectory? We're not going to get relentless storm systems, but the pattern continues to move such that the door is still open for any one of these systems over the next 2 weeks and beyond to make their way through and deliver some timely moisture to the area. So dry this week, warm this week, but continued hope. I'll show you that here. We'll look at the European model, the precipitation forecast. We'll go ahead and bring it back to today. Here's your system across central Saskatchewan. That continues off to the east over the next 24 hours, getting out of here by Monday night into Tuesday. High pressure across the region, mild and dry as we head through Tuesday into Wednesday. The European model here delivering the chance for some precipitation here. The area of low pressure is swinging way off to the north of the Prairie, but a front extended down to the south of that, potentially getting some flow up against the Rockies and delivering some light snowfall here to portions of southern Alberta on Thursday. I have low confidence in that, but it's one of those opportunities to pick up a little dose of moisture. We'll continue through Thursday into Friday now. This is your Saturday, looking at a dry weekend, nothing obvious at least. But as we get into early next week, this is when, once again, we see another wave making its way into the region, potentially delivering some precipitation. So here you go. 2 waves make their way through here Sunday night into Monday, and then here's Monday into Tuesday of next week. Now, 7 to 10 days out, we're not going to worry about the specifics here. I'm just saying the pattern stays open, the pattern continues to move, and we continue to have opportunities for precipitation. Whether or not we cash in on it, that's going to be the nowcasting, day-by-day forecasting, that we'll have to do here. And, a little bit of finger crossing doesn't hurt either. So the next 5 days, looking mild and dry across the Prairie, excluding your next 24 hours here in the east. As we head into days 5 to 10, nothing obvious yet, but another trough makes its way in. We've got potential here to bring some precipitation in as we get to the end of March into the beginning of April. Now, your temperatures, again, I've been mentioning mild a lot. We're going to continue to see a lot of ridging across the region. So southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, you're pretty much mild from here on out. North of there, across portions of, near and north of Highway 16, you got the opportunity to get some shots of colder air, especially as we head late week into the weekend. But here you go, Calgary. High temperatures, 15, 17 degrees on Tuesday and Wednesday. Edmonton warming up as well into midweek. Same thing in Saskatoon. Maybe feeling some cooler temperatures here late week into the weekend. As I mentioned, further east, the cooler it's going to be. Here you go, late week into the weekend. Winnipeg, further to the east, you got that high dropping back below the freezing mark as we head into the weekend. But still, no big complaints as far as temperatures go. We just need to cash in on some of these storm systems late March into early April. I hope you have a wonderful Monday and a great week.